In today's little video, we are going to be testing out one of these DJI Osmo Action Cam, seeing how good they are. So all the videos I've been doing to date have been filmed using my S10 Plus phone, that's including this one. And I thought it was about time to sort of upgrade what I used for capturing video to something more purpose-built, especially if you want to sort of film in car and like on car outside. You know, you can't do that with a smartphone, so you do need something that is kind of specific to the job. I have had a fake GoPro many years ago, an SJ cam, 1080p. It was okay, it did the job. No complaints, but it's getting old now and the battery is shagged on it, so you've got to plug it in all the time. So I thought I'd stick in a similar sort of vein really with the new camera, and that is to not go down the GoPro route. I sort of don't agree really with the GoPro tax of paying so much money for something that you can get cheaper and you can get pretty much just as good, or so I like to think. We will find out probably in this video how good the footage is and what the device is like. I had three main requirements for the camera. The first one being that it had a front screen and a back screen, so makes recording so much easier. It had to be 4K and it had to take an external microphone, and the DJI Osmo does all of that. So let's have a look in the box and let's see what we've got and yeah, test it out. Okay, so what is in the box? We've got the Osmo Action Cam in its holder. It's pretty substantial, feels pretty heavy, which is always nice. We've got bits for mounting it. We've got one 3M pad mount there. I noticed that, I don't know what the GoPros are like, but this is a twist lock mechanism, which is probably better than certainly the SJ cam I had, which was the kind of sliding style connectors, because it would rattle around, whereas I don't think that's going to happen with this. We've got slight curved one there as well, mounted to a dashboard or something, and this is obviously the top that mounts onto the base of the camera. Battery in a box, and we've got USB lead. It's worth pointing out, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to be able to use an external mic on the camera. With this particular camera, I've taken the cover off here for the USB connector and where the memory card sits. You need a specific piece of kit in order to plug in a mic, because you don't have the normal 3.5mm jack. So what you're going to need is one of these. It's the Cinova Osmo Action Dual 3.5mm USB-C adapter, and that will plug in to the side port on the Osmo cam, and you can then just plug in your mic, and you can also plug in a charger at the same time if you want to. So here's our little tiny adapter. All you need to do is just plug that in like that, and that's on there now. And then you've got USB on the bottom for charging, and you've got 3.5mm jack on the back. So now we've taken off the protective covers, we can turn it on and have a little look at the camera itself. So there we go, turned on. If you use the little quick switch button on the side here that's set up to go between the rear and the front screen, the front screen isn't touchscreen, only the rear screen is touchscreen. But pressing that once, and then there you go. Flip it round, and there we are, using the front screen, which I think will be really useful. So with it being touchscreen, you can basically swipe in from the side to see the settings for camera and for video. You can swipe down from the top to access settings, brightness, things like that. Swipe up from the bottom, and that is showing you the resolution for video that you've got at the moment, and that you've got rock steady on, which is like the anti-shake feature. And then I think sliding from that side, that's footage that you've got, and obviously there's nothing on there at the moment.
4 to 6 weeks later.
So you may have noticed that my hair has changed slightly and my clothes have changed. That is because it is now several weeks since I started doing this review video. And the reason why several weeks has passed is because I wanted to get to know the DJI camera a bit better, and it took time to set it up for the various clips that we're going to take a look at. I've made a little rig up so the DJI, there you go, can sit next to the phone, and we can get some side-by-side comparisons. And the footage that we're going to see is bit of on-car footage, which will just be the DJI, because you can't do that with your smartphone unless you want to lose your smartphone. And then we've got some interior footage in the garage in artificial light. We've got some footage outside in natural light. We've got some dark, low light footage, and we've got some dark to light and light to dark footage. So hopefully that's kind of good enough really to compare the two and see kind of any strengths and weaknesses. And once we've had a look at that, then we can kind of talk about the camera and sort of give a final verdict. So let's go. So I'm back on the phone now for the conclusion on the DJI Osmo Action Cam. Hopefully you can see from the footage that the Osmo, it's a good camera, it is, but it definitely isn't as convenient to use as a phone. With a phone, obviously, much bigger screen, much easier to see what you're doing, much more convenient. The other benefit to the phone is, of course, that you can change the view of the camera lens itself. So you can have wide angle, you can have normal, you can have close up, you can also fix the focus, and you can select the light level that you want. So it will kind of pick things up better in lower light and darken in bright light. So the phone is generally better for recording. The Osmo, I would say, if you're going to use it, and hopefully the footage kind of showed this and you agree, that if you're going to use it in low light situations, or if you're going to use it in artificial light situations like here in the garage with fluorescence up, it's crap. And the reason why it's crap is the anti-flicker feature that it has. You can have it on 50 hertz, 60 hertz or automatic, but no matter what you put it on, it still flickers when you sort of pan the camera or sort of go to the light and away from the light. It still flickers, and I don't want that. That doesn't look great. So I found myself using the phone when I'm doing any in-garage videos. So the Osmo won't get used in the garage in artificial light, won't get used in low light. I've done a few videos on the Spider, fitting parts to the Spider with the Osmo, and I've just had to bin them because you can't see what the fuck is going on. It's too dark and you can't really easily adjust the sort of light levels without it looking a bit stupid. The exterior daylight Osmo is fantastic, as you would hope. It is much easier to use than the camera because it's so light and so small, so it's easier to sort of carry and manipulate. And obviously it's safer using that than using your phone. Now, the exterior car footage, as I explained earlier, I could only do that with the Osmo. I mean, that's where it shines, is you can't do that with your phone because you'll trash your phone in seconds. So it's perfect for that, and I'm really happy with the footage that I got on the M3 using the Osmo. So overall, I think the Osmo you would use for in-car footage when you're recording like bits to camera, and you would use it for on-car footage and outside daylight footage where your phone just isn't the right thing to use. But in all of the scenarios, for me, it's going to have to be my phone. The final thing I would say is on the sort of, that's the camera side of the Osmo. In terms of the features of the Osmo, works really well with the external microphone. It's very easy to use, flicking between the front and rear screens. And generally the interface and the touchscreen works really well. What lets it down is that the front screen is very small, so you can see what you're doing, but not quite. And the front screen isn't touchscreen, so that's a bit annoying. The other issue I have with the Osmo is that the software that comes with it, it's a nightmare. It's useless. If you want to do camera on the front of the car and then Wi-Fi connect to it to start and stop the video and see what you're recording, you can't do it. Like in the M3, mounted on the front bumper, me sat in the car, it wouldn't connect. It just lagged. It was terrible. So you have to go out, start recording, check on the screen that it looks okay, get in your car, do your driving, get out, stop it. So the app is shit, and the app needs you to register the device, give email address details, etc. And you've also got to put on the location at all times with the app so that the Chinese people know where you are and what you're doing, which is not brilliant. So the app is crap, utterly useless, don't see the point in it whatsoever, won't bother with it. The final sort of negative I have with the Osmo is something that I thought would be cool, which actually turned out to be annoying, is the voice activation. So if you are wanting to video something where there's not going to be any speech and you want to do it away from the camera, you can put on voice commands and you can say start recording and it'll start recording. Then you can say take picture, it'll take a picture. You can say stop recording and it'll stop recording. But the problem is, if you are sat in a car and you're doing a video talking to camera and you want to sort of use it in that way and say start recording and then blah 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 about a car, certain words sound like stop recording. So for me in the M3, I could not say Dinman diffuser. Every time I started to say the word Dinman, it stopped recording or it took a picture. So I had to turn it off in the end. So that's another sort of limiting feature. So all that said, it's a nice addition to have to your recording equipment. I don't know if it's any better than the GoPro, any worse than the GoPro. I'd imagine picture quality is going to be on par, really. Feel free to sort of let me know your experiences of different cameras too. But yeah, it's worth having, but it's not brilliant. So there you go. Make your own mind up.